Hey guys, welcome to the podcast for the people. This is episode number 6. I'm sitting here across from probably one of the wisest men, and I'll use the term wise loosely as he's laughing at me, that I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. His name's Ed Fordyce, the founder of the Inspired Tribe, and I'll let him tell you guys all about that. But thanks for joining me, Ed. I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, it's great to be here, man. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah. So we'll get into it, dude. Tell us just a little bit, hit us with some background. What's the Inspired Tribe? What's 1440? What's kind of like your 2-minute get to know me?
Okay, so the Inspired Tribe was actually born out of kindness and generosity. Friends of mine, when I was down and out, and I mean down and out, gave me an incredible gift, a financial gift, because they believed in me. But what I wasn't expecting, and that was great, was they gave it to me without any form of payback or shame. They just gave it to me out of kindness. And it blew me away because all I really needed at that point in my life was someone that believed in me. That was as important as the financial gift that allowed me to breathe a little bit. So that's part of the Inspired Tribe. The other part was really born out of the real estate business. And when I went into more of a full-time coaching kind of position, I noticed that not just in real estate, but in life, my question always is, what's the difference that makes the difference? So I just by accident came across this new way of coaching human beings, most that happened to be in the real estate business, and found that the results that they were starting to get out of the traditional models and training methods were really effective. But more importantly, they were living better lives, having more fulfilled relationships. Their health took on a whole new road. And I've carried that into a really cool Remax franchise that I'm involved with now here in Westchester. And it's working out really, really, really well.
Nice. Very nice. What's 1440?
1440 represents the minutes in a day. So in the short, it means a lot. But as human beings, if we just focus on each moment and living in the moment, and by the way, for each person, it's going to mean something different. But if minutes turn into hours, hours turn into days, days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, months turn into years, years turn into a life. And if we just focus in on how is my emotional state moment to moment, knowing that the quality of anyone's life is in direct proportion to the emotional state that we stay in the most, we just pay attention to that and somewhat manage it or even be aware of it, we're going to have a pretty good freaking life.
Yeah. Cool. What's your biggest challenge right now?
My biggest challenge right now, that's a great question. I would say my biggest challenge, and I think you stole that from me. Yeah, and you got me on it.
Yeah.
My biggest challenge right now is being a very spiritual person living in a non-spiritual world.
Yeah.
Another challenge today is knowing that the non-traditional way of thinking and operating in relationships and business, the non-traditional way works, but living in a world that's becoming a little bit more open to that, but doesn't accept it. And going back to the old way. And there are certain things that I'm really looking at. As you know, I constantly study things. And I'm almost 100% sure that any strategy in life or business or technology or medicine that was used 5 years ago is completely outdated.
Yeah.
So my challenge is always that challenge of human beings, whether it's health or it's an organization, them basically saying, well, I've always done it this way, or we've always done it this way. It's a challenge. But I love challenges.
Yeah.
If there weren't challenges like that, I wouldn't get paid.
Absolutely. Because you got to break those patterns.
Got to break those patterns, yeah.
Find something new, innovative.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, I totally stole that question from you.
Yeah.
I use it all the time.
That's all right. Steal anything you want.
Dude, I had a lady in class the other day, and I'll get back. This is just a side note. I had a lady in class the other day, and we were lifting weights, and she was having, I guess she had sort of like a off day, and I just looked at her, and out of left field, I said, "What's your biggest challenge?" And she just like physiology was just like, whoa, what? What do you mean? You know what I mean? And then like, she gave a really honest answer, which was really cool. And it was just that she essentially is, she says yes to everybody, you know? And it was like kind of one of those things where we were just lifting weights and it was in a CrossFit class, but then I threw that question out to her. She related it to something that was totally off in her life, kind of even got it off her chest a little bit. And then she like killed the rest of the workout. It was one of the coolest things. Just like a small little, you know, question, not a little question I say, but a powerful question, changes something just like that.
The answers are always in the question.
Yeah.
And speaking of like non-traditional, like I'll give you an example. A traditional way of coaching or running a business or planning may be, what do we need or what do you need to start doing, right? I ask the question, what do we need to stop doing? What do you need to stop doing? What do we need to start saying no to? Clears up a lot of time and a lot of mind space.
Yeah. I guess because you could, so when you say that to me, I kind of think of if I start saying yes to things, or what do I need to start doing, I'm not letting go of the things that are hindering me, that I'm starting doing, you know, something A, but I'm still doing whatever that B thing is, even though I started doing A to stop whatever the B thing, the negative thing that's happening. So is that what you find is the most effective route to coaching people in business or in life or anything, is like almost in a way people have a bank, and once that bank gets filled, you have to decide what's positive and what's negative in that memory bank or that mind bank, and just sort of sift through what's going to work and what isn't going to work? Is that kind of a starting place for you?
Yes and no. Again, it takes a little while, depending on who it is, what their challenges may or may not be. But I can say just something I've used, and anybody that's in the coaching world out there, I recommend, and it doesn't matter what business you're in, recommend buying a small book called The Dan Sullivan Question. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
It is a base question with a few follow-up questions that really can make the difference in anyone's life. So my ADD's kicking in right now. I completely forget the question. What was the question?
What's like your starting point for coaching?
Yeah. So it could be that Dan Sullivan question. It may be asking what's your purpose, what's your mission. It may be what's your biggest challenge right now. Again, it depends on the situation. A lot of times I'll ask, so in the next 30 minutes together, in the next hour together, what's the most important thing we need to talk about? What keeps you up at night?
Yeah.
You know, what's always on your mind?
Just kind of cutting right to the chase of what's making the most effect today, or what can you do today to make the most effect for tomorrow kind of deal.
Yeah. I call it like, let's take off our mask. Let's take off the CEO mask, the business owner mask, whatever mask we're wearing. Let's take that off, man. Let's get really vulnerable. Let's get naked. You know, that sounded creepy, being alone with you in a gym.
Hey, man.
So,
you know,
help.
I feel like we know each other pretty well.
Somebody help. Somebody help.
Let's get naked.
And yeah, but see, even like using that language, it sort of loosens everything up.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times my purpose is to, and Tony Robbins uses this, using some pretty colorful language. So I'll give you an example. And again, I was literally on a run coaching a woman. This is 5 years ago. And we would go for runs and I would coach her. Well, in the middle of, we were having a pretty intense chat with some real challenges she was having, and she started to have a panic attack. And I never dealt with anybody with having a panic attack, so I knew one thing is I can't look panicked. And when I looked at her and she was starting to gasp for air, I just know I had to break her pattern. I get this from Tony Robbins. So my question to her was, so tell me, what do you look and sound like when you're having an explosive orgasm?
Yeah.
And she sort of looked at me like, what? And I went, really, seriously, make the face. I want to hear it. Like,
Yeah.
And it completely stopped her from gasping.
Yeah.
She was in a state of panic. All I know is I had to do something to take her out of that. And usually it's a strong word or it's something that breaks down that barrier. Again, very non-traditional.
Yeah.
Non-traditional that completely makes everybody laugh, makes them a little bit vulnerable, takes their brain into a whole new world of what?
Yeah.
What did you just
You
say?
know what?
It works.
What?
It's effective.
It does.
Yeah, and that's, if you ever listen to Tony Robbins,
Yeah.
he'll do shit like that.
Yeah. I think it's great. I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about comedians and like using the F word. Like a well-placed fuck or just something in language can really just drive home a point.
Yeah.
So,
which, by the way, people that coach me, they have to be okay. One of the agreements is they have to be okay with me completely freaking out and coaching.
Yeah.
It's I can't hold back. It's a way that I express myself. It's not to be vulgar. It's not to insult anybody or any of that freaking nonsense. It's the only way I can. It's being the true, authentic me. It's getting it out.
Yeah. Dude, I actually just recently wrote an article about this and I'm kind of figuring this out myself and my dog is really distracting me right now. But
She's cool.
It's essentially, I'm learning that within myself, one of the things I'm trying to, kind of go on like this personal growth sort of thought, and I'm going to wrap this in. But essentially, one of the things that I realize is I'm really good at just shutting emotion down. I'm really good at just kind of blinding everything out, and in doing so, like, I don't know how I act or how I feel or what it does to me when I'm angry or when I'm really happy or when I'm confused or any sort of emotion that you can feel, because I'm very good at just skipping to that sort of nothing box or that blankness of just kind of like shutting emotion down. So one of the things that I'm starting to do, like I had a day on, maybe it was it yesterday or Thursday? I had a really rough day. And I was so fucking mad all day for no reason. I don't know why. But in my head, I was like, you know what? Don't blind yourself away from this. Like, try to find something constructive to do with it. So I ended up working out and like mopping the floor all day and that kind of stuff. But I was like trying to get in touch with the emotion or this manic like anger, whatever it was that I had, as part of the process, kind of like what you're talking about in figuring out, well, why am I doing this, or where is this coming from in me, or why do I feel this way, or how do I even respond when anger hits me, and trying to dissect it from there. So I think like allowing myself and allowing yourself to be coached and to be shown as your true self. And this reminds me of another conversation we had as far as like addiction goes. Allowing yourself to be an honest version of your true self, that's the only way. That's the starting spot. That's the starting point. That's something that we kind of have to be in practice of all the time, And it's something that I'm trying to do. But I feel like, and tell me what you think here, there's a lot of people that, because of things around us, because of these work environments or the old way of doing things or this or that, get trapped in these sort of patterns, or like your friend gets trapped in these patterns. How do you break those? How do you, other than you have language, how do you get somebody to take an honest investment or honest assessment, I should say, an honest assessment of themselves, like you said, and know how they need to be coached or how they need to form a plan of action to go. Like you said, anybody that you kind of coach or coaches you needs to be okay with you like throwing emotion around. How does somebody get to that point to know this is kind of what I need? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. I think a lot can go into that. But I'll first start with knowing how our brain works. And our brain is a very old tool. And our brain's primary responsibility is to protect us.
Was that you that I saw that Tony Robbins video where he was
Yes.
talking about this? I thought that was. Yeah. I loved that video.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
So and I'll wrap it around of how this plays into life and certain age groups that I coach and where that comes out being bad. But our brain's primary purpose is to protect us. So a lot of times that can limit us. And what happens is I was in a coaching appointment with a guy that's lived from the outside a perfect life. Had a great job, raised a family, made money, other than being, a little unhealthy, which obviously is the most important thing. He looked at me. It was one of the saddest things I've ever seen. And he said, Ed, for the last 34 years, I sold my soul for money. And I'm imagining that his brain was telling him, you're doing the right thing because you're providing for your family. And a great book, Code of the Extraordinary Mind, it talks about brules, B-R-U-L-E-S, brules, which is short for bullshit rules, like a bullshit rule that we make up.
Yeah.
So in order to provide for my family, I have to give up my dream. So the way I think I'm wrapping this around
I
is,
see what you're saying.
my question a lot of times is no matter what anybody believes in created them, whether it was God, a scientific experiment, a miracle, whatever it is, something created us. Something thought, I believe God created me, something thought enough of you and I to create this dude, Casey. Something thought enough of me to create this guy, Ed. We have a heart in us that beats. We didn't do anything. We didn't ask for that. It just sort of happened. So what did that source, what did God create me for? And what I found is at the age of 50, my world is getting smaller, but in a great way, because I'm truly getting aligned with why was I created? Why was I created? And again, it started with a question. Even if the listeners here can ask themselves that question, why was I created? What happens is life gets a lot simpler. Since I can only share my experience. Since I started asking my question and going after that and paying attention to my emotion, I'm a lot clearer. I'm a lot more relaxed. I'm a lot happier. My income has gone up dramatically. But in order to do that, I had to have the courage to say no. I'm not doing it that way. I know that's what the manual says. I know that's what the model says. I'm not doing it that way. And I actually put that, one of my daily purposes is to make an impact, a huge impact on planet Earth and every human being that I come in contact with. I literally put that in writing in a card to my father about 3 days before he went into hospice. So when I talk to people, I wanted it to be that intense. So when somebody comes to me and says, I don't like the way you're doing things, I respectfully say, I don't really give a fuck what you think.
Yeah.
Because this is a promise. I put it in writing to my father. That is non-negotiable. I don't care what the policy says.
Yeah.
You can fire me. You want me to resign? I really don't care.
Yeah.
Because I know that when I operate in this space, I'm at my best. And to be I hate to say this, humbly, I've come to a point, and I know it because it's always out there. The market is always willing to pay for this. Always.
Yeah.
Always. I will never be unemployed. I will never, ever not have enough coaching clients because I'm committed to it. And it brings something out in human beings when they go on this journey of being their most powerful, authentic, vulnerable self that every day they're hungry. Every day they're filled with just this emotion and this passion to be connected to what their true purpose is. This world is starving for people. I think it's Howard Thurman has a quote. I love it, and I have it on my website. Don't ask what the world... Give me a second. Keep talking. I'm going to Google it. I'm going to state now, and I can't remember what it is.
I think I know where you're going with it, but I'm not completely sure. But I agree with you, man. I think a lot of us are disconnected with what is the actual purpose for why I'm here. And like you, I like how you say it is whatever you believe created you, I think created you for a reason. And it's, it's up to you to kind of do the work to figure out what that reason is. And where I struggle sometimes, and one of the questions I wanted to pose to you was, how many different purposes have you thought that you had? For example, a lot of people will find purpose in their job, or a lot of people will find purpose in their hobbies, things that people identify with, and we don't always identify with the right thing, that we're doing at the time, or the right thing that's going to give us essentially the most bang for our buck when we're doing it. Someone who identifies as a drug addict, I don't think their purpose was to be a drug addict, or someone who identifies as, or at least whatever, for that example is, there's something higher happening as to why they're in that situation in their life, or someone who is, never able to hold down a relationship or something. I don't think their purpose, or they're a lost cause like they think they are. So how many different sort of purposes did you yourself run through, or do you think people will run through before they really start finding alignment with themselves?
I will answer that. Here's that quote. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Howard Thurman. Yeah. So I think if we look at, this is just my belief, and part of me in doing what I do is, and the difference of me now and the difference of me 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I'm not asking for approval. I'm not asking for anyone to agree or disagree with me. I really don't care. And I don't mean I don't care about people. I mean, I'm not out seeking for someone's opinion about my thoughts.
Kind of like you are who you are.
That's it. That's it. So looking for a purpose in life, I think there's hints. And I think we already have it in us. And if we just ask ourselves, what brings me alive? So I'll give you an example. I always go back to this story. When I was very young for my graduating class. So I played my senior year of high school football at 16. Went up against a Division I prospect. He was going to West Virginia. Incredible athlete. 6'1", 190, 195 pounds. Probably ran a 4.40. I'm 5'9", 160 pounds. And in the first quarter, I caught a pass. I burned him on a bomb. And the football, I caught it, but when I landed on the football, it pierced my kidney. It literally tore my kidney in half and punctured it.
Like it sent your rib through there? Or?
No, it just, the point of the ball literally crushed my kidney. Oof. So, obviously, excruciating pain. I thought I was shot. And I literally crawled off the field. And I guess my body was going to shock. And this was about halfway through the first quarter. And a couple things happened then. I knew that at that point that if I could survive this, I could survive anything. Just a weird thought just went through my brain. I had nothing to do with that thought. Yeah. I didn't consciously think like, hey, I have to be tough right now. Yeah. The second thing that happened was I looked up into the stands and my mom was there. And she looked down, and anybody that has a child, when your child's hurt. And it's like that's one thing as a parent you hate to see. So I made a decision. I have to fake it. I'm not going to let my mom know I'm hurt. So I gave her a thumbs up and started jogging up and down the sidelines. Make a long story short, I ended up playing the rest of the game with a ruptured kidney. I was turning green. Don't do this at home. It's very stupid. Rushed me to the hospital. They couldn't find anything wrong with me. They said, well, we'll take a urine sample. And when I peed in the cup, it was all blood.
They knew it was. Yeah.
So,
Jeez.
when I look back now, that's a hint. So my purpose was, and some of the message is that sometimes we have to suffer. The other thing was I knew I loved performing. I loved being in front of people. I loved being a leader. I was the captain of the team. I better freaking play that game.
Yeah.
I better finish that freaking game. Where did that come from? Again, I think it was just God-given that I'm a leader. And I tell, real estate agents today that me being your leader, I can teach anybody how to sell real estate. I can teach all that all day long. It's easy. That's a whole nother conversation. Whole real estate industry, it's a whatever. That's a whole nother conversation.
We'll mess with that later.
Yeah, but I tell them, look, what I mean by me being your leader, and by the way, this means a lot to combat vets that I coach. So what that means is if, God forbid, somebody comes in, and I'll tell you right now, if somebody comes in here right now with a gun, I'm taking the bullet. I've already made that decision, and I'm good with that. I didn't make that decision. That's been wired in me by God, by my Creator. So I think, getting back to your question, there's been hints all along in our lives, going back to the time we were little. And if we just pay attention to them and pay attention to daily things, the Inspired Tribe's mission statement is inspiring and encouraging human beings to wake up excited, go to bed fulfilled, and live their dreams in between. If you're going to bed, if a human being's going to bed exhausted, frustrated, dreading waking up tomorrow, I don't care if you're making $1,000 a year, $1,000 an hour, $1,000 a minute, $1,000 a second. You're dying inside.
Yeah.
Dying inside. And it will come out in your health.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Man, how do we get rid of that? How do we, because I hate to be kind of like a fatalist here, but I just see far too many people go to bed exhausted. It's a pattern, it's a societal pattern that I think is far too prevalent right now. So how do we, what do we do?
Start with the Dan Sullivan question.
There.
And I think because I've said like the Dan Sullivan question, buy the book, but I'm going to tell you what the question is.
Yeah.
And the question would be, so if I'm coaching you, my question's going to be, and there's 4 follow-up questions that tie it all together.
Sure.
But the question is, so Casey, if you and I are having this discussion 3 years from today, and we're looking back over those 3 years, what has had to have happened to make you feel good, both personally and professionally, about your progress? What that does is if somebody hates their job and hates their life, number one, it gives them hope. We go into solution mode. And I hate to use the word plan because there's not enough emotion in that, but action steps start to happen.
Right.
I think a lot of people feel stuck.
Yeah.
They're stuck with ego. Right, you've heard how many stories are out there of the global CEO that just one day goes, "Fuck it,
yeah,
I'm opening a gym.
I'm out.
Fuck it, I'm starting this nutrition company. Fuck it, I'm starting this clothing line."
Yeah,
And although they go from $1 million or more a year down to starting with nothing, they're more fulfilled because they're happy. They have a purpose. They're fulfilling their mission. All of a sudden, they lose weight. They feel good. They're happier. Their sex life is better. Their relationships are better. Everything goes to a whole nother level. So it's really, I would say this, the litmus test is looking yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and just literally looking in your own eyes in the mirror going, how am I doing? How am I doing?
Yeah. Just check in. I have two questions for you. One is, do you journal? Do you write a journal? Or do you keep track?
Probably only because it's a traditional thing to do. I don't. Once in a while, I will journal sporadically through a voice message. This is how I'm feeling today. This is what's going on in my life. September 23rd, 2016.
Yeah.
So I don't do it on a daily basis. I have a lot of rituals. Journaling is not one of them.
Yeah. A lot of people, I'm trying to think of ways that people can easily take that inventory count of how they feel in their life. Where am I at right now? What am I doing? And that kind of thing. And, journaling is something that helps me a lot. My second question for you is, when you find what you love to do and you go and do it, but there is something to be said for basic needs needing to be met, as in you got to be able to pay your bills, you got to be able to put food on the table, you got to be able to do those types of things. When does, we'll use the gym example, when does I love owning a gym, I love teaching class, I love coaching, but what if, and it's a very possible what if, that love that I have for it isn't also covering my bills? When does doing something that you love turn into work? And how do you manage that balance? Like someone who loves to bake, they open a bakery and then it's driving them nuts. Is there something to be said for, finding what you're passionate about versus finding what you're good at? That type of question?
Yeah, I think I would go to the question of, so what do you want? What do you want? That's the question, again, that opens up. And I'll put this in my life of how it happened. And then so what do you want? If I was coaching, I would say, what do you really want? What do you want to be doing on a daily basis? What brings you alive on a daily basis? And then we can take that and wrap it around the gym. So I'll give you an example. My title is CEO of a real estate franchise, a Remax franchise. It was a Keller Williams franchise. First of all, I'm the furthest thing away from a CEO. The real estate business industry isn't my passion, right? I think it's very simple, the business of real estate that I'm in. You learn a set of skills and you go do it, or you don't. It's just that simple. However, because I had to find a way to make a very strong living in that industry, I stepped away from, I'm going to be the CEO. I literally did this. Step one was, what does CEO stand for in the world? Stands for Chief Executive Officer. I changed that to Chief Encouragement Officer, Chief Energizing Officer. And that's the role I took, and then had and still have a great team around me. So we have a choice, the 3 Ds. Do it, delegate it, or delete it. Right? And when I can delegate the things that I'm not strong with, I literally could take this position. Me and my partner Sandy Mariani just had this conversation. I could take what I do and put it in any industry.
So, okay, yeah, that's
All
kind
right?
of what I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it? It's really, first of all, knowing where you're at, not looking at it any worse or any better. So you own this gym. You know, it's a couple thousand square feet. There's only so many minutes, hours in a day. You're limited to it's limiting to how much profit can be generated in a small area, just like in the restaurant business. Mm-hmm. If you own a restaurant that has 30 seats, we're going to be limited to how much production can be done in that. Mm-hmm. So what do you love doing? What else can you create in here? So I'll give you an example. If I own this gym, it's cool. I love it. I've got 5 classes a day. I've got 80 members. That's not quite covering my bills. Do I like to write a book? Do I like to do personal coaching? Do I like to put together a series of, like P90X stuff that I can sell? What is it that I love doing that can create a revenue stream? Mm-hmm. So I'll give you an example. I do this coaching in real estate for a company. I also get paid by outside companies in and out of the real estate industry to do coaching and training for them. You know, I coach, and he's not even with my company. I coach the #1 independent solo agent in the area. Mm. That's cool. That's that's a whole new revenue stream.
Yeah.
But I love it. You know, but I'm not going to. I have no interest in going out and buying 4 real estate franchises. No interest at all.
Right.
None.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily. I think what I take away from that is it's the purpose behind what you're doing as opposed to what you're actually doing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's all about. So even if you're at a job, because I always try to think when I think of these things, I always try to relate it to the single parent who's trying to make ends meet for their kid and that type of deal. And no one really wants to be a janitor and clean offices on the night shift, that kind of thing. How do they, how do they apply this purpose or this meaning to the outlet that isn't exactly in alignment with, what they truly wanted to be, like an actor or something along those lines, So if things are purpose driven, this is kind of what I'm concluding from you. If things are purpose driven, the outlet is just kind of the outlet. Does that
yes.
sound about right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially the plan of action then is just finding your purpose and finding why you're created and asking all those types of questions.
Yeah, and I think that purpose is an emotion. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you an example. I just started a 13-week training course with, I guess, 8 females. Please say some prayers for me. And we do our thing for a couple of hours. It's a business training, but it's also very much personal growth. It's very much taking your mask off. Mm-hmm. So I'm into it. I'm intense. I do it. I go through the rest of my day and do what I do in the world. At about 10 o'clock at night, it hits me the impact that was made 8 hours earlier in this training. And when I tell you, me as a 50-year-old, grown man, I just sat on my couch, put my head, my face in my hands, and just cried really hard for a minute because I knew I was living my purpose.
How fucking cool is that?
And that's how I know.
Yeah.
That's how I know. It doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. Doesn't show up. Well, actually, it does show up. You know what I mean?
But it's more of an internal.
That's
agreement.
how I know.
Yeah.
And again, that's why I say it humbly. This isn't an egotistical thing. That is non-negotiable. Mm-hmm. with me. That's what I have to do. And it's not, I didn't decide on that. My Creator wired me for that.
Right.
And my prayer every day is, God, please continue to guide me to be the best version of myself so that I can become what you created me for, to do your work. That's it. That's it.
Simple.
Everything else is, to me, it's nonsense.
It happens.
And I'm willing to die for it.
Sure.
I'm literally willing to die. I'm willing at this point to be homeless.
Yeah.
I'm willing to be homeless in order to live that life. And I'm not saying that this is, the cool thing is, and I want to make this clear, that's not going to be right for everybody. You know, there's a lot of people out there that I love and respect and that are my friends, that their purpose, their dream is to live a very predictable, standard life. And when they close out the day, it brings them to an emotion of, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm living this predictable, standard life. That's cool too.
Yeah.
But man, I love the risk. I love being put on the edge. I love the all or nothing.
Yeah.
I love that. It
Yeah.
drives me. It keeps me young.
It's whatever, I think, what were you saying? It's whatever, you said something to me like a little bit ago. It was like whatever like gets your dick hard in the morning or something. It was something like whatever makes your nuts go, man. And like, just do that. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, it doesn't, you know, everybody's going to have something different. Just do that.
Yes. That was part a great female coach.
That's what it was.
Wonderful person.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd say her name, but I don't know if she'd want me to broadcast
yeah.
this. But she was with the company that I used to be with.
Yeah.
And I was stuck. And she knows who she is. Her first name's Allison. And she literally knew the spot I was in. She's the one that woke me up.
Yeah.
And talk about divinely guided. I had like one conversation with this woman and called her out of the blue. And she said, you're going to start rotting from the inside out.
Yeah.
And then the next question, she said, let me ask you a question. She coaches incredible women. She takes them out into like the wilderness and they like live with the wolves for a day.
Hell yeah.
But her question was, Ed, let me ask you a question. What makes your balls tingle?
That's what it is.
That was it. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that got my attention.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like, to me, that's living.
Yeah.
That's living. Yeah. Wake the fuck up, man.
Wake up, dude.
That's it.
That's got to be it, man. I think that's, I try to think about that shit, man. Like, you know, I had a conversation with some friends the other day, and we were talking about, like, someone was saying something, and it was like, oh, how are you today? Oh, same old shit. And I was like, at that moment, dude, I wanted to just like, this sounds crazy, but I wanted to just like rip my fucking pants off and run down the middle of the street just to change it up. I was like, I need to, you know, do something with it, man. You got to do something that just jives it up. Whatever it is, it has to be done. And I think there's something to be said for people within reason, like, you know, do something different out of your day that you don't normally do. Like even the person who wants to live the life that is structured and planned or anything along those lines, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily vibe with me. I think everybody needs to have some sort of uncertainty. Tony Robbins talks about it. You need some sort of uncertainty in your life, even if it's something little. Fucking go watch a movie that you've never seen before rather than watching the same one for the third time. Do something different. Change it up. You gotta explore. That's what I'm trying to create with the gym right now. Is we've been doing CrossFit for a long time. I want to change it up. I want to add in new classes. I want to do something new and keep it progressing forward, because otherwise you're just standing still and it's boring and it lacks emotion and it lacks the thrill, and it's one of those mindsets that I think a lot of people will get into, to where they'll just kind of end up sitting back and watching their life just kind of drift on by. And then you look at it and, you know, you hear people say, oh, 20 years went by, and then you look back and you're like, whoa, what the fuck happened? You know, that's something that kind of scares me a lot, is I don't want to have that ever happen to me. Even when I'm 80, I want to be looking for the next thing that I can do that's going to get me going that day.
Yeah.
You know?
I always point to the 5 regrets of the dying. just Google it. But it's everything we're talking about. You know, I want to, at that moment, I'm going to be able to, you know, put my thumb up, you know, whoever's around me, say, I'm good, man.
Yeah.
Like, I lived it.
Cool.
I lived a full, fulfilled life. I'm worn out. I need a little sleep right now, you know?
Yeah.
But the 5 regrets of the dying, like, I never want to live that. I never want to live those regrets of wishing I could have been more authentic. I could have been a better person. You know, and it's such a wild journey. And like literally we could take it to a whole nother level of, but you don't understand. I did this or I did that. That's where we get into resentments, forgiveness, and just knowing that everything that happens to us in life, every experience is simply to serve another human being. No matter how bad maybe we thought we were, or we thought we did, or, you know, the mistakes we've made. It's simply to serve another human being.
It's for a reason.
That's it.
Yeah. And I know you, and I'm going to say, because you'll talk a lot about, and I've seen you give speeches and such about, you know, how you were down and out and a junkie and doing drugs and all this kind of stuff. And you can explain this probably better than I can because it's your story, but there was a moment or there was a time or when you look at it and you're like, you know what? I think I was supposed to, or I had to do that. That was because now it's geared me up to have the experience and the ability to help somebody who's doing it right now. You know, had you not been that, and then you try to go and help a junkie or help somebody who's an addict or an alcoholic or whatever it is, they'd look at you like, how do you know? You know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of turning things that happened to you into, well, what did this actually mean? Why was I actually in this position in life? Why was I actually going through this hard time? You know? And then what can you do from it from there? How can you turn something that you're doing into service of another person? The single parent who, you know, works the graveyard shift, their job sucks, but why are they doing it? Because they love their child and don't want them to never, or don't want them to go without having shoes, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
How can you turn hard times or hard, you know, mindsets or such into something that still goes back to aligning with your purpose and what you're doing and why, you know, why are you doing it? Why are you here? Why are you in this spot in your life right now?
Yeah, there's, you know, with that addiction thing, it's helped me a lot, even like in my business world, where I'll start with, you know, when people say like, why do you believe in God? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and this is just my feeling is, I tried many different ways to stop drinking and doing drugs. I tried willpower. I tried shifting schedules. I tried just drinking, not doing drugs, just doing drugs, not drinking, and could not stop. And one night I was on a binge. In fact, I think I did die. That's okay. I got a dog chewing on my shoelaces. That's supposed to happen. That's okay. There's going to be a meaning behind this.
Because you need new shoelaces.
I need new shoelaces. Yeah. And I believe that, and I tell the story all the time, like I did die, my heart was exploding, and as my soul was leaving me, God was sort of looking over me and watched my soul leave me. He looked down at me, looked at my soul, looked back down at me, grabbed my soul, put it back on my chest, kicked me, and said, get up, I'm saving your sorry ass, you better do some good shit. So when I woke up, when I came to, I was in a crack house, the obsession completely had been lifted. There was no emotion. There was no, this is it, I swear it's the last time. Yeah. It was, I literally said just quietly, that's it, I'm done. You know, reached out for help. I work a program, and thank God. I always say I had nothing to do with getting clean and sober. I have a lot to do with maintaining it.
Yeah.
So where was I going with that? There was,
just taking difficult times in people's lives.
Yeah,
There's
there's
rewiring it to mean something.
yeah,
more
there's
powerful.
there's a where that comes into my business life now is I have a saying like surrender to win. Sometimes you have to surrender. That's the only way that I stay sober. I surrender. I cannot fight drugs and booze. It will beat me every time. Every time. And it goes so against our nature. I guess I can only say especially for men because we're men.
Well, society, never quit, never give up, never do
That's
it.
it.
Never,
Keep
yeah.
up the fight.
Yeah,
The
keep
fight
going,
against
push
drugs.
through.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. Driving up here today, I saw like 85 signs that says hate has no place here. Just personally, I love that people get to express themselves. Take the word hate out. That's being broadcasted into our brain. If we switch that sign around and just said only love lives here, think about that.
Think about the difference.
It's a huge difference. So a saying that I have, some of the coaching clients that I have, my saying is stop pushing and start praying. Stop pushing and start praying. You know, there's a lot of, and I'm certainly not perfect in this world, but my question always is, are you praying? If you believe in God, you believe in a higher power, you believe in the universe, what's your relationship with? Like it, them, him, her, it, whatever. If not, then do you really believe that there's a higher power? So that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But what it does is it really helps. And I'm not saying lay on the couch and just pray. I'm not saying that. I'm saying sometimes we need a day where we just go to the beach. We take the burden off of us and say, I can't. You can. I'm going to let you. Please help me. Please help my business. Please help my relationship. Please help me. Please, I need your help. And it's amazing the miracles that I've seen just recently in my business. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing what happens.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I think if we just take that step back and, like you said, just say, I need help. And then you just kind of, as soon as you say that, and I'll do this to myself, I'll say that, and then I'll just kind of sit or I'll stand or whatever I'm doing, and I'll just look around. And I'll look, and I'm like, all right, did the trees blow some which way? Or is there like a word somewhere? Or is someone driving by that, like I read, or something along those lines? Like where's the sign? Where is the, and you can, I mean, if you're looking for something, you're going to see it type of deal. But I just try to, I think that's part of my process in which I say something or I'm talking to the universe and then I look around and get the response back. That's something that I'm in practice about. Like I said, that everybody has their own sort of thing. But I just think that that connection is so important.
Yeah.
And even if it's not a God or something, or maybe you believe in science and Darwinism or whatever it is, there's something there. Like animals, we always talk about how animals' instincts are so good. Well, the human animal is we're an animal. We have instincts as well. Everybody gets that gut feeling when you're, go skydiving or go to, God forbid somebody passes away in your family or something along those lines, or do something triumphant. You get that gut feeling for a reason, and that's something is talking to you through that intuition and like that Paleolithic brain that we all have, so there is connection there. I think it's just the awareness of it that a lot of people might mistake or might lack on. Like you said, so stop pushing, start praying, get in touch with that sort of side or that life, that relationship that we very often, I think, neglect.
Yeah. I agree. There's also, with that, stop pushing, start praying, and I would throw, and I just thought of this, but always be preparing. There's a saying out there that luck equals preparation when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
Good and saying. If somebody's listening to this and they're in the dumps right now and they're confused and they're scared, just start preparing. And what that means is start reading. Read good stuff. Listen to good stuff. prepare to change, start changing. And I look at my little life here, like, and I laugh sometimes of where it is, and more importantly, where it's going. And the traditional world, this doesn't make any sense, except for I can say I've read over 600 books on leadership, psychology, health, the difference that makes the difference. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars in trainings. I have rituals every day. So I'm constantly preparing for life. And when opportunity shows up, which it has, it's crazy. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm confident. There is no, I can't, a person that has to start preparing then, they're dead. They're dead in the water.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Oh man, I was just listening to something else and they were kind of talking about this, and it's so easy to, when we see somebody who is successful and we see somebody who, you know, has all these things in life and such, and we look at them and go, oh, well, you know, it's good for them, or that's them, they have that, or blah, 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 or you're comparing them to you, and then you're saying, oh, well, you know, they're lucky, or they're this or that. Well, you know, it didn't just happen. You know what I mean? It didn't. People will look at the end product and say, "Oh man, you know, they just got that. I've only known them to be that for this long, or whatever it is," and they're not going to see that Ed has read over 600 books and Ed has prepared himself to be in that position. You know, and I like to look at it as the universe will put you in positions that you're ready for. So if you're not preparing and you're not getting ready to be the CEO or that millionaire or whatever it is, then it's never going to happen for you. So I think you're right, man. Preparation is a big part of luck, you know, because when those opportunity comes, like, and you're not ready for it, well, there goes your opportunity.
Yeah, it's you know, it goes along with a little bit, I think, of the law of attraction. So, you know, for those listening again, and I'll ask you, did you ever meet somebody that you just say, there's something about that guy, there's something about that girl?
Yeah.
It's because they've been preparing.
Yeah.
And that's what people notice. And I've done it. I said, there's something about, I want that person on my team.
Yeah.
There's something about them. Mm-hmm. And I will, I know we're coming up close to an hour here, and I could keep talking.
Yeah.
This is something that I thought of the other day. I saw something, and I know that something that drives me with what I do, I absolutely am committed to the ones that are brave enough not deciding to be a victim, no matter what. I forget what happened, but this literally popped in my head. I thought of this and I wrote it down. About having a purpose. This is why it's so important to have a purpose and a mission. Humans without a purpose are seduced by drama that gives them significance, which is a strong human need, but it ends up being a false sense of purpose. So we're seduced by whatever drama is going on that day, and we decide to attach ourselves to that. But it's just a distraction because we don't have a purpose. But it's disguised as a purpose. And usually what happens is it's just a waste of time and energy, and you don't make any progress in life. But it's so seductive because we're not focused on what our true purpose is. And again, this is where in my life, somebody will be paying me, and they'll be paying me a lot of money, saying, no, you don't understand. We have to look at this. And I'm going, hey, look, if you want to look at that, you go ahead. This is where I'm going. This is the purpose. And I know if we take care of that, everything else falls in its place. And it does.
So kind of we'll find things that we think are what we need, but it's just a Band-Aid.
It's drama. It's just
crap.
drama.
Yeah.
It's just crap.
It's crap.
And it doesn't serve us. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Irish Catholic. Like, we have the highest rate of alcoholism. My family, wasn't whatever, born rich. And by the way, I'm not rich and I'm not poor. But I'm living a life in an emotional state that I really love my life. Mm-hmm. I love it. I'm at peace. I'm fired up every day. I love it. My life's certainly not perfect, but I've stopped aligning what my life, my Ed Fordyce's successful life, needs to look like with a mansion. Look, if that's what people are, I used to chase that shit. I don't chase it anymore. I'd much rather live a very profitable life, very small. The secret to living is giving. So I want to be able to give away more. Yeah, I want to make sure I have a nest egg and have shelter. And yeah, I like having a couple homes and whatever. But I'd much rather, instead of buying the next material thing, I'd much rather serve another human being. I'd much rather find the single mom that doesn't have the $1,000 to send their kid to camp and send them. And I hope that as time goes on, I can contribute even more. Because getting back to your first question, that was a complete turning point in my life when my friends, I said to them, I said, you asked me if I needed anything, I could come to you. And I said, I'm letting you know I need to borrow $20,000. And I don't know when and if I could pay it back. And they said, well, hold on a second, we'll call you back. And when they called me back, they said, we'd be honored to lend you the $20,000. Only if we only want it back when it's completely stressless in your life to pay me back. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Talk about life-saving.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to do that for people. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I agree with this whole thing of like, I don't know. It's just me. Like, well, if they didn't do this, then they wouldn't be in that position. You know what? Sometimes a pat on the, nobody, at that point, I was so low. I didn't need a lesson or a pat on the back.
Yeah.
I needed money.
You need money.
I needed freaking money.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep. I agree. I think that goes into something that in coaching is, one of the things that is widely spread is, I will listen to you without judgment. I'm not going to have someone come to me and say, oh, I'm this, and this one. And I'll say, well, 2 years prior, you shouldn't have done that. You dumbass, like, get on. That kind of thing. Just help people for how they are right now. And, we'll figure it out. And kind of going off that sidebar, like, one of the things that you said to me before, because I've heard that story before, is sometimes people just need a freaking check. Yeah. Sometimes people need clean drinking water. You can pray for them all you want, but and that's great. But sometimes, you need, if you've gone 3 days without food, you need fucking food. Yeah. Send them food. Put yourself in a position, and you're doing it to give people both the physical needs and the mental support that are required. I was actually just talking about, and this is something that I wanted to bring up on the podcast. I was just telling a friend of mine about Jimmy Dice and the workout and how we had the event and such, and we just you gave and were able to raise this money for this veteran, and we just, essentially give him money. You know what I mean? Because that's what he needs to put diapers on his newborn baby. That kind of stuff. The support is there. I'm not saying just go not piss your money, but give everything you have to people. But sometimes it is that simple to where, people who get hit with a hurricane and such, they need water. They need a blanket, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And that's something this year, the first quarter of the year, I am committing to it. I want to put together a tribe, 100 people that get together quarterly. I'll figure out something. It'll be either a training, a mastermind, something really cool. But the real idea is 100 people bring $100. That's $10,000. And you know what? We just go give it to somebody. And it doesn't have to be the poor family.
Yeah.
It may be, the waitress that waits on us. And
You just drop $10,000 to her.
just say, hey, look,
There you go.
our spirit, the universe said you're the person to get this
yeah.
for no other reason than
I love it.
you're great. Here.
Yeah.
Think of the hope, the kindness, the generosity. Like, that's action. Talk is cheap, man.
Yeah.
That could change lives. Imagine that ripple effect.
Yeah.
And imagine if, like, hey, we're just going to ask you to take 1,000 of the 10,000 and give it to somebody.
Yeah.
Like,
And then man, that pay it forward thing, man.
That's it.
How cool is that?
It's huge.
Count me in.
Huge.
I'm in. If we're putting that together, put me in.
All right, cool.
And anybody else who wants to be in, get in contact with me or with Ed, because that's freaking awesome.
Yeah,
That's the shit that I love. I always had this thought too, and I'm, like you play the lottery or something, I would think, well, if I won the lottery, honestly, and this is true, this isn't me just bullshitting, I'd probably give half of it away.
Sure.
What the fuck am I going to do with $2 billion?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do? I'd probably give half of it away just because, like, why not?
Yep.
That's cool, man. I think it's awesome. I think that kind of support, and that's one of the things that we talk about in personal growth, is once basic needs are met, and that's a big asterisk, is if basic needs are met or are not met, I don't give it, like, it's hard for me to worry about me being happy or something like that if I'm not sure where my next meal is coming from. It's a very hard thing to do. So once those basic needs are met, so that's something that I try to think about is, go donate your old clothes, go, give time at the shelter and help serve food or donate food or cans or any water, whatever it is. Not everybody has their basic needs met. So that's something else that people and leaders in the community have to take into account. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's good to give out free hugs and all that kind of stuff, and I'm not downplaying that. But sometimes, back that hug up with a fucking cheeseburger, dude, and hook somebody up and help people out in that way as well. And I think it's powerful, dude. It'll change the course of people's life. I mean, look at you. Like, you were down and out. You needed money. You got the money. And look at how many people you've been able to serve and help because you were able, you had that opportunity for yourself.
Yeah.
It's two-sided coin when it comes to helping people, I think.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, there's multiple sides to it, but just the physical aspect of, I don't have anywhere to live. So if I don't have anywhere to live, how am I gonna start worrying about my, alcoholism,
Yeah.
or whatever it is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the other side of that was like everybody's doing the best that they can with what they know and what they have, and people that I thought I could count on. They sort of like, I knew I could, but there was an attachment. And that attachment came with a look of shame, a look of disappointment, and, well, how are you going to pay it back? And you know what? It took me a while, number one, to forgive them and knowing that they did the best that they could with what they know.
Yeah.
But one thing I did learn, I never want to be that.
Sure.
I never want to be that.
Yeah.
And because I've lived through the pain and the shame, I would never, ever, ever want someone to feel shameful about a situation that they're in.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. One of the things I started doing yoga teacher training, and it's pretty expensive. I think it runs right around like $2,500 to $3,000, $2,500, $3,000, and a lady who is in training, one of the first things that we did, and I might have told you about this, it's this practice called shedding the mask is what they called it. And they essentially, our teacher or the lady leading it had us write down, she said name, job, hobbies, marital status, birthday, where are you from, all these types of, normal disclosures that we'll give people. And she said, now introduce yourself without saying any of those things. And it was like, oh, fuck, like, what am I going to tell people now? And I guess I'm going to have to tell people that, I'm I'm fucking crazy on the inside. I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean? That's all I got. That's the only thing that's left. Dude, it was one of the coolest drills or practices or things that we ever did. And one of the things that I learned was this woman, she was at this yoga teacher training as an outlet for her husband has been battling cancer for a year or 2 years or however long it was, and it's not looking good was kind of the thing. And she's just exhausted. And she said, what do I need in my life? And she has friends who said the same sort of thing. If you need something, let us know. And she reached out to them and said, hey, I don't have money for this yoga teacher training, but this is something that I want to do. And they put their money together and they hooked her up and paid for her.
There it is,
and
man.
This lady, I'll tell you, because I know her firsthand, she's going to change the world. Not only is it changing her life, but it's making her happier, which is making her husband's last days that much better. And it's just the simple generosity that people can give is way more powerful than we'd ever imagine. So one, that drill was awesome, but two, it was I had this awesome opportunity to get to know this woman, and it's just freaking cool, man. It's just one of those situations where you look at it and you're like, dude, that is just cool. Like that's awesome, And I think I know moving forward out of this conversation, I'm going to be more aware of that. What can I do for somebody, and sort of those regards. And a lot of times it's just paying attention to it. If we're not paying attention to something, how are we going to see it? When you see somebody struggling or you see somebody like going through something, you can either, step up and help, or you can put a label on them and put them in a box of, whatever they are and leave them there.
Yeah. There's, in the addiction world, I've been saying, who is the addict? The addict is your next door neighbor.
Yeah.
The addict is the president of the PTO. The addict is the grandfather that lives up the street. The addict is the 12-year-old boy who's the best pitcher in Little League. The addict is the homeless person. There is no picture of who that is, because it's everybody.
Yeah.
And in every walk of life.
Yeah.
And there's a old friend of mine, stockbroker, right? This is a few years ago. I forget if his wife, he called me. Kids, family, big house, makes a ton of money, right? He got jumped at an ATM at 12 o'clock at night, right? Beat up. I think he went blind, right? And here's the truth. The dude was out. He was drunk, right? He stopped. Who stops at an ATM at 12 o'clock at night? Why are they getting money? To buy some dope, right? And I don't know that he's quite gotten it yet. I pray for him, and I pray for his family. But if he hasn't gotten it yet, I think he's blind in one eye. I don't know that he's ever going to get it. But we want to ignore that. 20 years ago, I would have ignored that. Well, I work hard, so I go out and have a couple beers, and, I was stopping for my lunch money at midnight. That's the lie we tell ourselves. That's the lie that, I know he was buying money for dope. That's what we do. We go out, we have a few drinks, say we're going to get home. This is the difference. Normal people say they're going to go have a couple drinks and go home, and they do. People like me say they're going to have a couple drinks, and that turns into a couple days.
Yeah, they come home 3 days later.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's the difference.
I think, I like it, man. I agree that addiction in that field, you see the signs and stuff. It doesn't discriminate.
Yeah.
It doesn't discriminate. It can happen to anybody. I do a class at I coach a CrossFit class at a rehab right now, and not judgmentally saying this, but some of the people that walk in, and you're like, it can happen to anybody. I get it. I get it. And that's, it's just a mindset of staying open-minded. And I think the general theme that we're kind of, going to wrap up with here is, people, no matter what walk of life that you're in, could use help or could use some sort of work on themselves or service or something. There's something that we're all able to offer other people and offer ourselves, that if we become, or we just open up or say, I'm aware of something now, or I'm open up to finding whatever that is, then you can drastically improve your life, lives around you, and your future. You know what I mean?
Amen, brother.
Finding purpose.
Yeah, purpose. That's it.
I love it. Dude, how can people find you? What, Instagram, Facebook, website, anything along those lines?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook.
What is it? What's your Instagram?
I don't even know.
Oh,
I think
right. Yeah.
at Ed Fordyce.
Ed Fordyce. Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah. If you, what's the website? InspiredTribe.com.
TheInspiredTribe.com.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's probably all in there. And your
Yeah.
book is on there too. You have
Yes.
another book coming out? Did you say you were writing another book? Are you
Yeah, but it's going to be a little while. Yeah,
fair enough.
It's going to be
Cool.
a little while. I'll be divinely inspired, and the download will come, and it'll literally be done in 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's how the next book will come.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
I love it. I love
Not worried about it.
Cool, man. Well, find your purpose, man. Everybody take inventory of yourselves, and if you feel open to sharing, throw something up on Facebook, on comments, or on the website, and let's keep this conversation going. So if you want to be on the podcast, email me, team.movement33@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to get you on. And like I said, we'll have at least one of these a week. If I can get more out, I certainly will do that. So thanks again, Ed.
Yeah, man.
And we'll see you guys next time.